Barakata Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Racha Kudash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is, it's a response. How do you know you got it? And pretty much this is a response to a title that Elder Pastor threw at either, Pastor, myself, or anyone out there that wanted to jump on it. And pretty much, the lesson we're going to get into, Lord's will, it'll be edifying. But before I get started, I was watching these brothers here, GMS Spiritual Temple 2, and I was watching them yesterday, and their brothers were getting down. But I noticed that this video has a lot of information, and it only has like 80 views. 11 hours ago, it only has 80 views. This video should get a whole lot more views than what it's getting. And based off of that, this video I was watching, I got a link to a YouTube channel called Kitco News, which I didn't know anything about. So I subscribed to them, and I put all three of these videos in the description box. So these brothers should be getting a lot more views than that. It's called Thursday Live, WAF 2023 CBDC, and more filth from Sodom 2.0. And brothers were getting down, so I highly suggest watching that video. I put Elder Pastor's video also in the description box, so you can go and watch his video. And I put this YouTube channel, Kitco News, in the description box in case anyone is interested. I know the prophets will be. So to get to the nuts and bolts of it, how do you know you got it? Well, the first thing that you have to do when you're dealing with any situation is be able to understand or be able to identify what this particular thing is, and the only way you can identify it is through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and you have to know what it's speaking about. Because when we say the MOTB, you brothers already know that have been watching, a few sisters, it's talking about the MARK of the beast. And it's spoken of in the book of Revelation 13 and 16. It says, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a MARK in their right hand or in their foreheads. So you would have to identify what's being said here in order to understand. It says, and that no man might what? Buy or sell, save he that had the MARK or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So we know that this situation here, right, will whoever doesn't get involved with it, whoever doesn't accept it, will not be able to buy or sell. Now, you have the IUIC, which keeps changing their stance on the MOTB every so often. Now it's many things, then they saying it's the Christian church. Then they were saying it's sin. Well, it's impossible for it to be sin, because let's go real quick. I mean, it is a sin to take it, but it's not sin in general. Let's go to, I believe this is in the book of Psalms. Okay, it's actually Ecclesiastes chapter 7. It says, for there is not a just man upon earth that doeth good, and sinneth not. So all men sin, all women sin, right? Now, it says here in the book of Matthew, chapter 24. And 24 says, for there shall arise false anointeds and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that, if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. So that means that the elect will not get it, right? So it says that in Ecclesiastes 7:20, for there is not a just man upon earth that doeth good and sinneth not. So it's impossible for it to be sin because everybody sins, right? Now, when we go to the book of Revelation, chapter 14, right? And the 9th verse, it says, doom for the worshipers of the beast. And the third angel followed me, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image and receive. See, this is the key, identifying what this thing is. Is it spiritual? Is it physical? Now, if you go face value on the English, well, what's the mark of the Most High? It's spiritual. So what's the mark of the, what's the mark of the beast? Well, it's sin. No, you have to. It says receive, right? Excuse me. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, excuse me, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Most High, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. So those that take the mark will be destroyed. Now we know that you're going to have some that don't take it. How do we know that? Revelation 20:4. And I saw thrones, and they that sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. This is the elect, beginning with the 144,000, and above that, which is Yahushai, so on and so forth. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahushai and for the word of the Most High, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads. Right? So, are these men also sinners? Yes, because we just read in Ecclesiastes 7:20, for there is not a just man upon earth that doeth good and sinneth not. So if that's the case, how can the MOTB be sin if you're going to have individuals that are going to be put to death for not receiving this MARK or this device? All right. There was another precept. Let's go real quick to Revelation. It just escaped me for a moment. Just select it for a minute. Neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or on their hands, and they lived and reigned with Yahushua 1,000 years. Yes, precept just had popped in my head. If it comes back, I'll bring it out. If not, then I guess the Spirit didn't want it to come out. So that's the point. The point is that there's not a just man upon earth that sinneth not, that doeth good and sinneth not. You're going to have those that refuse the MARK that will be beheaded, some of them. So it says, if it were possible that they shall deceive even the elect, but they won't be able to deceive the elect. So if all men are sinners, then how can the MOTB be sin? It doesn't make sense. Now, it is a sin, but it's not sin in general. All right? Okay, so there was, like I said, I'm trying to remember that precept. But all right, so let's go back here. So the premise of this whole thing. Oh, the other thing too is what they're saying, which is mainly the IUIC. I'm sorry, the ISUPK, is that it's an embargo, right? Well, what is an embargo? An embargo is an order forbidding ships from certain other nations from entering or leaving a nation's ports. You see, this is the definition of the word embargo, from Spanish embargo, seizure, arrest, embargo, which the word literally breaks down to M, which is in or on. Embargo is a bar or a fence that is put, a restriction that is put in the way, It says seizure, arrest, embargo, noun of action from embargar, restrain, impede, arrest, embargo. So it goes on, in and bara is to bar, and also you have like a fence. So it's an impediment. What's an impediment? Something that's put in the way to restrain you from, being able to do a particular thing. So it's not an embargo, because an embargo is usually placed upon nations. Does the word embargo mean ship? What is an embargo? In logistics industry, the phrase shipping embargo refers to when a carrier stops receiving goods from clients. Refers to when a carrier stops receiving goods from clients. These can be implemented by any carrier. However, they are most commonly used by less than truckload TL shippers. Moving on, it says, what does embargo mean in shipping? Freight embargoes are when carriers or carrier companies stop accepting freight loads based on a certain geographic region or a specific product type. As a shipper, you will be unable to schedule a pickup. Let's read that again. Freight embargoes are when carriers or carrier companies stop accepting freight loads based on a certain geographic region or a specific product type. As a shipper, you will be unable to schedule a pickup or ship any products through affected carriers so long as the embargo remains in place. Right. So this is why once America is destroyed, there's going to be wailing of the other nations, because they won't be able to sell their goods anymore, right? It says right here, what was the meaning of embargo? A trade restriction. That's what it is. It's a trade restriction. An embargo is a trade restriction typically adopted by a government, a group of countries, or an international organization as an economic sanction. Embargoes can bar all trade, and that's the word bar right there. Embargo, to bar or to fence off or to impede someone from being able to trade, that country being able to trade with America. And you see embargoes all over the place, sanctions. It says, or may apply only to some of it, for example, to arms imports. All right. So when it speaks about receiving the MOTB, the buy or sell, it says, and that no man might buy or sell. It's not talking about whole countries. Like the IUIC said, big nations, rich nations and poor nations. No, it says that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the MARK or the name of the beast or the number of his name, because everything is going digital, because they're pushing that C-Ragma, the Karagma, the C-Ragamuffin. All right. So this is going into something else. If the spirit, brings it back, then we can, go into it. So let's see what else we got here. So if you can't buy or sell, well, how do you buy or sell? You buy and sell with what? Money. With, you purchase something, you pay for it. Whether you go to the store and give them cash, or you give them a card, or you give them a debit card, or you order it offline, same way. Whether it's a debit card, credit card, whatever the case may be, there's a transaction going. There's money being taken out of your account, or you're shipping something is being shipped to you. You go to wherever you go to, make a money order, and you write it out, pay to the order of such and such, in the amount of such and such, and you ship it off to them. Then when they get the payment, they ship that product that you ordered to you. That's the buying and selling part, right? So what I typed in was, what's the future of money? Which is the future of money as the work? Because without money, you can't buy or sell, correct? Let's go real quick to Ecclesiastes chapter 7 first, which we were already there. It says 7 and 12, for wisdom is a defense and money is a defense. So money is a hedge against something, so when you need something, so the way that you purchase things is through money, right? Then we go to Ecclesiastes 10 and 20, and it says, 19, a feast is made for laughter and wine maketh merry, but money answereth all things. Like they say, money talks, bullshit walks. So you need money to be able to do transactions, to be able to buy or sell, right? And everybody can do that now. So how can it be sin if everybody's buying and selling and everybody is a sinner? But it said there's going to come a point where you're not going to be able to buy or sell. It doesn't make sense. So it says, which is the future of money? As the world continues to move toward financial exchange systems that reward convenience, blockchain-based digital currency is a viable path for the future of money. And this is exactly what's going on, right? And then the first thing that had popped up on my phone was this: the future of money, how the digital revolution is transforming currencies and finance. And this is an actual book by some individual named Eswar Prasad, right? It says an Economist Best Book of the Year, Financial Times Best Book of the Year, a Foreign Affairs Best Book of the Year. Okay, that's going into the accolades. So down here it says, what can replace money in the future? Debit cards and electronic transfers. Why do you think there's all this talk about, CBDCs, the central bank digital currencies? Because this is the future of money. And money is what people use to buy or sell. All right? Are replacing physical money. See? Debit cards and electronic transfers are replacing physical money. See, most of the purchases that I do with actual cash. Very rare I use my card unless something that I can't use cash. Which they're making it harder now to do that. But I mostly use cash. That's just my personal, But it says debit cards and electronic transfers are replacing physical money. What's physical money? These FRN notes that you see here. The different notes of these different nations' currencies. Because most people don't carry cash for the most part. They usually use their card, whether they go to the ATM or whether they purchase it with their credit card or their debit card. It says leading to a system where governments, banks, businesses, and people transfer funds by having a third party change numbers on the equivalent of an electronic ledger. And this is where money is going. What can replace money in the future? Will cash exist in the future? Ultimately, cash may in fact disappear, and it will disappear. How do we know that? Because you had outside of all of this talk of going digital, back in, I'm not sure if that was the 90s or the 2000s, where Alex Jones interviewed Aaron Russo. And one of the things Aaron Russo told him was, look, everything is going, they want everybody C-hipped. Bottom line, they want everybody C-hipped. And if you don't comply, they just shut your C-hip off. Because that's an easier mode of control. Having everything online, and by the stroke of a key, the keyboard, you can just turn everything off. And that's what they want. It says, but it's mostly a question of where and when. While it may disappear in some countries, it might remain in others. No, it's going to go totally. They've been talking about this going back to the 70s and 80s. I remember back in the 80s, those Ansar Allah community Muslims, would say, that was their main talk was, digital currency. They were speaking about the credit cards, but it's going far beyond the credit cards. This was back in the late 80s, early 90s, maybe like around 89, 90, 91, around there. It says in the U.S., and this is before, before Spirit had me come to the school. It says, is the U.S. switching to digital currency? According to the New Atlantic Council research, the United States, thanks to Project Cedar, has moved into development of a central bank digital currency, CBDC. Why is that? Because the future of money is going to be digital. So if you can't buy or sell, that means it's going to be digital. And joined its colleagues at the European Central Bank. The Bank of Japan and the Bank of England is making the leap forward. All right? We can get down to that one, but I want to show you this. Atlantic Council. The Atlantic Council is an American think tank in the field of international affairs favoring Atlanticism, founded in 1961. It manages 16 regional centers and functional programs related to international security and global economic prosperity. It's all about that finance, economic prosperity. It is headquartered in Washington, D.C. It is a member of the Atlantic Treaty Association. All right, so this group is pretty much set up to bring up ideas on how to make the economy prosper. It's all about the money. This is why Maya Angelou said, give me control of a nation's money and I care not who makes the laws. So going back here, it says, will we ever be a cashless society? More than 6 in 10 predict a cashless society. 64% of Americans say it is very likely or likely that the U.S. will be a cashless society. And why are they saying that? Why do you still have doubters out there? Because the actual system hasn't been put into place yet. But once it comes into place, they're gonna be like, oh, it's gonna be a cashless society after all. It said at some point during their lives, meaning all transactions are done using an electronic method of payment rather than physical currency. All right. So this is why it's important to understand or identify what this MOTB is, the MARK of the beast. You have to identify it. So one thing we know about it is if you don't have it, you won't be able to buy or sell. What is used for buying and selling? Money. What is the future of money? Money is being set up to go digital. Why is that? Because everyone will be on the grid that wants to do business with the whore, America, Babylon the Great. And when you go through, these different precepts, and you go through the different words in the English, but then you go back to the original language, it gives you, the actual meaning of what each word is, because you can't just look up. If you look up the word mark in English, right, as a definition, mark, it says a small area on the surface having a different color from its surroundings, typically one caused by accident or damage. A line, figure, or symbol made as an indication or record of something. Make a visible impression or stain on. Write a word or symbol on an object, typically for identification. So even in the English language, the word mark has different definitions. Right? Let's see. Yeah, even Jake out there, when you call somebody a mark out there in the West Coast, you're calling them a sucker, pretty much. A mark was a slang term for the individual who was to be targeted of a scam. Yeah, sucker. All right, let's see what else we got here. See, and then you have the British definitions of it. You have the verb definition of it. All right. So if you want to get a better understanding, you have to go to the actual language that it was written in. And when you go to the funny thing about it, when I was watching this video, right, this individual here, This brother was breaking it down properly. He was breaking it down right. But then he's in denial. The man is in denial. He was breaking it down right. He said, well, it's not talking about engraving, cutting into, because, he was breaking it down the way it's supposed to be broken down. But seeing that he's in such denial, he's not open to accept it. Now if he's of the elect, the Lord will open up his mind to see it. But, as Elder Pastor said, he's not of the elect, because he knows that, we've been going through the different words in the Hebrew and the Greek and all of that, and he pretty much dismisses it. Where you have the word charagma, you have, the different words in the Hebrew, and he even mentioned the word charagma. So pretty much he's taken away from the word. All right. So that's why it's important to, and see, these groups are stuck. They're stuck on the word mark, M-A-R-K. Let's just hit that, in the book of Ezekiel 9. When you go to the book of Ezekiel 9, right, it says, and the Lord said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the forehead of the men that sigh and that cry, for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. Now, if you look up this word, which is a spiritual M-A-R-K, the word is Thawa. Now, the word Thawa, desire, mark, M-A-R-K, as a sign, what? Of exemption from judgment. Right. And this was a sign of exemption from judgment, which is a spiritual thing. All right. Now, when we go to Revelation chapter 7, right. Let's go straight to the point. Verse 3, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of the Most High of our power in their foreheads. Now, this word seal and the word M-A-R-K, both are spiritual. All right, sfragizo, to set a seal upon, mark with a seal, to seal, see? So it's the same thing, for security from Satan, right? So these two M-A-R-K, well, this M-A-R-K and this one seal, right, is both, denoting the same thing. Something spiritual, something that is going to be set up and established to protect an individual from harm. And it's going to protect an individual from actually doing or taking that device to bring them harm or destruction. So this is why it's important to identify what this thing is. So you can't go to the Old Testament and see a word in the English M-A-R-K, and then go to the New Testament and see a word M-A-R-K and get the same definition, because they're two different languages. Now, when we go to this, right, the word is charagma, right? A stamp and imprinted mark. And then, as Elder Pastor always goes to, you have a list of precepts down here where this word M-A-R-K in the New Testament appears, right? Which is the same M-A-R-K, not the name M-A-R-K. All right, and then you have here in Acts 17 and 29, for as much then as we are the offspring of the Most High, we ought not to think that the powerhead is like unto gold or silver or stone, graven by art and man's device. So when you grave something, you have to cut into it. This is why when you go to the different root words, the device that's used to cut is what? The karax. From karasso, to sharpen to a point, like a chisel. right? Or an or, you know, akin to grapple through the idea of scratching, right, which is cutting into the flesh. To what? To insert this device, the charagma, in order to have the information, the grapho writings in that. And this is where everything is going. That's why it's important to identify what it is, to know, if you have it or not. And obviously, you have people in the world that have it today, but that system hasn't been fully implemented all the way yet. Because if it was implemented all the way, then the ones that didn't accept their way would not be able to buy or sell. So it's madness, but the individual here, he's in denial. He's in denial. And he doesn't, he breaks it down right, but he's in denial pretty much. So pretty much that was it, this was just a response to how do you know you got it. So Lord's will, the lesson was edifying. You brothers and sisters were edified. Until the next time I say shalom.